Dr. Linda Copeland is joining us via Skype, and you're going to see it's a little bit interesting because we're having an issue with Skype this morning. So we've got her live on the phone and live on Skype, and we apologize. It's going to be a little bit interesting. It's not going to sync up just right, but it's good information, and we welcome Dr. Copeland back to the show. As I mentioned, we call her lovingly the unicorn because she is both a developmental pediatrician and a board-certified behavior analyst, and that, my friends, is rare and amazing. So, and she's pretty fabulous and sparkly, so we like to call her the unicorn. And we haven't had her on the show for a while, but Dr. Copeland, thank you for being willing to be on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you for being willing to be on the phone with us. So, Dr. Copeland, we particularly today wanted to talk with you about sleep, and this is something that you're working very closely on right now. Tell our viewers how you're working on sleep.
Yes, CARD is working on sleep because we know good sleep is so important for all the children to make good progress in their learning. We also know that kids with autism tend to have sleep problems frequently. There's been some good behavioral research on behavioral treatments for young kids under the age of 12. So we're doing a study for kids who are CARD clients between the ages of 2 and 12 who've had 6 months or more of significant sleep issues. The ABA team with the BCBA supervisor trains the parents on how to implement the behavioral sleep treatment. And we've already started this study. There's going to be both an experimental and in a control group. All the control kids will later be offered the same behavioral sleep treatment. And we are just looking for more kids.
Okay. So, and I have to say, too, you're doing an excellent job. There's a little bit of an echo, and I don't know if you've ever had to do that, where there's a little, you can hear yourself and there's a little bit of an echo. It's really an exercise in concentration, and Dr. Copeland's doing brilliantly.
I got a good night's sleep last night.
There you go. Well, and that's why you're doing so good. But so, for Dr. Copeland, is it only CARD families that are participating in this study?
Yes, at this point. This is mainly for CARD families. CARD will share the information with any family that's interested, but as far as conducting the study, being a subject in the study, yes, only CARD families.
So if you are a CARD parent and you want to participate in the study, what do you need to do to get involved, and what will you be doing once you are involved?
Okay. First, to be eligible, the child has to be between the ages of 2 and 12. They can't have any seizures or be on seizure medication because we know that affects sleep. And so they have to be in general good health. And their sleep problem has had to be going on for more than 6 months. Also, it's okay if they take melatonin, but to be in the study, they can't be on any other prescribed, sleep medication.
Okay. And part of that, all so that people understand, is that you're trying to isolate and see if behaviorally you can shape and change sleep habits and have it work better. Is that a pretty safe assumption?
Yes.
Okay. So, and not to say that CARD won't ever look at individuals who have epilepsy, or that, there are kids who have sleep issues in CARD that are being treated for that. It's just not a part of the study because they're isolating that.
Exactly. So, with your help, we made 2 training videos.
Yes.
One for parents, one for the behavior analysts at CARD on the behavioral sleep treatment. We will offer this for any family who's in CARD who has a child with a sleep problem. So the treatment still can be done. It just wouldn't be done within the context of the study. So if families are interested, they should tell their ABA supervisor, and that supervisor can get in touch with me or Dr. Emily directing the study with myself and Dr. Dixon.
Okay. And now you said your child has to be having a sleep issue that's been going on for 6 months or more. What kinds of things do you constitute a sleep issue?
One would be when the family tries to send the child to bed, they resist going to bed. They may have what are called curtain calls, where they're frequently up out of bed after you kiss them goodnight, so they have difficulty falling asleep. It could also involve children who then wake a lot in the middle of the night. Those kind of sleep problems.
Okay, great. I love calling it a curtain call. That's such a better name than what we want to call it, right? I don't know if you've ever seen Dr. Copeland or Nancy. There's a wonderful Jennifer Garner video where she reads a bedtime story, and it's only for adults. But she reads the bedtime story, and it says, something, and then she says, "Now go to sleep." Yeah. And at the end of every line, and I think. It's on YouTube, and everybody can check it out. It's not something to share with your children, but it's a good laugh for the tired parent.
Yeah, I had a lot of curtain calls last night because we just got back from the East Coast and spent an entire day flying, and we were up at 5 a.m. East Coast time. So
that explains it.
Yeah. So, but I'm wondering how long this is going to last with the curtain calls.
Well, and now that we've talked about the fact that there's this study and we've given people the information, let's for everybody else who's like, my goodness, I don't get to be a part of the study. Let's get into it. So, Dr. Copeland, that you've been working on sleep for a while. Here's Nancy with her issue with her son getting up. How long is this going to last? And is there something Nancy can do to get him on a Pacific Time Coast schedule now?
Okay. The behavioral treatment we use has already been researched and published by Dr. Greg Hanley. And it involves good sleep hygiene from sleep medicine, plus some behavioral strategies. So one thing that you can do for the curtain calls is give your son a laminated bedtime pass,
right,
or several passes, and make sure whatever he's using the pass for to come out of bed for 2 to 3 minutes, that he has plenty of access to it even before the kiss goodnight, or what we call the bid goodnight. But as long as he has a pass, he can trade it in for one trip out or the parent coming in for 2 to 3 minutes. After he's used up all his bedtime passes, then you just redirect him back to bed without granting him what he wants. Uh-huh. But as long as he uses the pass, he does get what he wants. That starts to put some control over the curtain calls.
Okay.
Some of the finer points of that are, though, as a parent, you have to be well rested enough to follow through with that.
Exactly. You can't give up. One of the problems I think a lot of parents have with the issue of their children that join them in their own bed is they're so exhausted that after a while they give up. Is that something you see quite a bit?
Yes, that's very, very common. And we get strongly learned associations with how we fall asleep. Sleep is a very natural and powerful reinforcer. So whatever the child learns to associate with falling asleep, they become very dependent on. And then they think they need that to fall asleep. So while the parent temporarily solves the problem by laying down next to their child, they're actually creating more of a problem long term, because it's what we call a dysfunctional sleep dependency. And those kinds of sleep dependencies can't necessarily be there all night long. If the child is used to laying next to the parent to fall asleep, it sets the stage for them waking up multiple times in the middle of the night, especially if the parent later goes back into their own bed, because the same conditions are not there all night long that the child learned to fall asleep with.
And so when, sometimes we do this and we get to the point where it's already well established, and then we find out, oh, that wasn't the way to do it. How do you begin to
Right.
unravel these associations that are dysfunctional?
Right. We have to help them unlearn those dysfunctional sleep dependencies and learn other habits. So, in addition to the bedtime pass, there's a nice little technique called time-based visiting. And you can substitute it instead of the parent laying down next to the child. So after the first big good night, the parent, first night of behavioral treatment, revisits the child 8 times in 30 minutes. So what the child starts to learn is, I don't have to do anything. I just have to lay here and relax, and my parent's always going to come back. And that tends to work as a substitution for the parent actually laying down next to them.
And then over time, you pare those 8 visits down little by little?
Pretty quickly you can start weaning it down. And Dr. Hanley has a precise protocol on how to do that, and that's something we teach the parents how to do in our study.
Okay.
When you talk about,
And in the video.
Yes.
okay, so the bedtime pass, we get that concept. When you talk about good sleep hygiene, what else is included in that, Dr. Copeland?
Having a good schedule. We are built to sleep in the dark, and we sleep better in cooler temperature. So you want to make sure that child's not being sent to bed too early. We also have a biological clock, and we all have a biological time of peak alertness in the early evening. You don't want to send a child to bed when they're at the height of their peak alertness, because that will trigger some sleep-resistant behaviors. So learning to know your child's biological clock and picking a good bedtime is part of it. And having good room conditions. There shouldn't be a lot of bright light. Little night light's okay, but you don't want any direct lighting right across the eyes. And for that reason, we also recommend stopping any kind of screen time, like TV or iPad or computer time, about 45 minutes before the desired bedtime. So lots of strategies like that, and we try to get all the strategies done all at once for that particular child's and family's needs.
And isn't it also that we don't let them sleep so late in the morning? I mean, I see this with my teenager now, that it's summer and all of his friends are sleeping till like 11 or noon.
Wow.
And I mean, that's a teenager thing to do.
Right.
And we're just not letting him do that, because I know if we do, it'll take us forever to get him back on a schedule. So not letting them sleep late in the morning, and that's part of it too, right?
Exactly. You want to make sure they get enough sleep, and the younger the child, they do tend to need more sleep. So a 4-year-old may easily need 11, 12 hours of sleep, or a little bit more. And even by the time we're a teenager adult, on average, most of us do better with about 9 hours of sleep. But we shouldn't regularly, routinely sleep a lot more than we really need.
What's your opinion on the napping? When do we know when to get rid of the nap, or should we keep the nap? I want a nap now.
Well, I think the older we get, Bob Hope used to take naps all the time, and he credited for living long and having lots of energy. So there's something to be said for naps for adults, but it's individual for children. A lot of preschoolers may outgrow the need for a nap sometime between 3 and 4 years of age, and some still need it. But usually you don't want really prolonged naps, like 2 hours or more, if they're having trouble staying asleep at night.
Well, Jem used to nap like a champion.
Really?
And man, it was my best time of day, because he would nap and I could actually get something done. But then he wouldn't go to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, that's the downside of a
Yeah.
long nap.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And when we got rid of the nap,
Yeah.
When we got rid of the nap, he would go to bed earlier. But I can remember for a long time between the hours of 3:30 and 5, if I didn't have a brass band in the house, I mean, literally, we would get up and dance and do all, because if you let him sit down for a second, he would cork off and then you'd be up all night long.
Oh.
So we would have to plan an activity that did not involve being in the car from 3:30 to 5. If you put him in the car, it was lights out.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't wake him up for anything.
Yeah, an occasional 1 hour nap for younger kids, and some 2 and 3 year olds definitely need a 2 hour nap. But you want to avoid frequent and prolonged naps during the day the older the child gets.
Okay. All right. So you had some questions about medication.
Yes, I wanted to know about some natural supplements and some of the more popular sleep aids, I guess we would call them. I know one is, of course, melatonin. And then there's another one called Tranquil Sleep that I've used with my son that has melatonin and tryptophan and maybe lysine or something. I don't know what else. I'm not sure what's in that one, but I know
Theanine.
L-theanine. Sorry about that. So, Dr. Copeland, what is your opinion on some of these natural sleep aids?
The natural sleep aids are pretty good. They can be helpful. You don't want the child to become totally dependent on them because they tend to develop a tolerance. But our brain makes melatonin deep in the centers of our brain, and it's made to regulate our sleep cycle. So melatonin is good, and it gives a natural type of sleep. There's no other prescription medication, even though it may work to get the child to sleep, that gets a good quality of sleep. That's why it's better for children to treat the sleep difficulties with a behavioral approach instead of prescription sleep aids. But we do allow melatonin in the study because it does allow a good quality of sleep. And tryptophan does have a sedating property. It's related to the production of serotonin and then eventually melatonin. It's amino acid that occurs naturally in food. So it's an okay supplement too. And then L-theanine, another amino acid, does have calming properties. So those are the three that I think are the best quality.
Okay. Well, this is all very fascinating. We go back to if you're a card family, really want to, and you're having sleep issues, and if you qualify, if your child's between the ages of 2 and 12, and you're not on any other medication other than the melatonin, and you're not having seizures or on seizure medication, then you can qualify for the study. If you don't qualify for the study, you can still have the protocol for it. It is on videotape. We helped Dr. Copeland to videotape the protocol for you and for your supervisor. You just won't be included in the study. For our viewers who are not card parents, Dr. Copeland, is there a way that they can view the protocol?
I would think so. If the videos are on Vimeo, and maybe if they request them through you, Shannon, you could give them the website to watch the videos. Is that possible?
I can make that happen. So if you want to watch those videos, the ones for parents, write to me and I can make that happen. But I really appreciate you being with us today to talk about these things and the importance of it, because honestly, if we don't have sleep for the child, then we don't have it for the family, and then no one makes the progress that we could be making. I really feel like it's one of the most important gifts that we can give our child is the ability to go to sleep, even if we're not there, to sleep through the night, and we have to give that gift to ourselves or we lose our minds. Is that overstating it?
Yes.
Well, thank you. Yes?
I just want to mention this one last thing. We've shown in our skills profile some children who, after they improved their sleep, really picked up their rates of learning and skills with their ABA program.
Absolutely. And I know you're in the middle of a study, so you can't really say, can I say that these techniques have been shown time and time again to be very effective?
Yes, and they have been published in behavioral psychology journals by Dr. Hanley. Hanley is excited to work with CARD on our study because we're doing an experimental and a control group so we can publish it in medical journals and make more doctors aware of these behavioral techniques.
Which is great. And again, I want to say that if you're in the control group, you will eventually be given the behavioral intervention. And a big
Exactly.
and a
We want to
big
help everybody.
yeah, a big part of this, as we said though, is that you have to be able to follow through on it. And because you might be listening and going, yeah, well, the bedtime pass, I tried it. Or, we've done the curtain call thing before and it doesn't work. Or, we get to a point where I can't force them to do anything. And it is essential. A lot of times the first night, it's not going to work.
Right.
The first night it's not, and you have to have a plan to get through that first night and have no sleep so that the child sees, oh, they're not giving in. Oh, they're not going to talk to me when my bedtime passes are out. It's a drag the first night. But I can speak for myself, and we've done the bedtime pass thing here on the show for years and even offered the format for the laminated thing that people were doing the craft project themselves and doing it. And for us and for most people reported that really it took a maximum of 3 nights is what I recall before they saw a tremendous difference. And I know that you feel like I can't do without 3 nights of sleep, but if you could do without 3 nights of sleep to have it so that the rest of your life and your child's life you slept, you would gleefully trade it,
Yes,
right?
right.
So do you find that too, that most people, that 3 is a pretty average number for it to work, Dr. Copeland?
Right. Most parents start to get excited because they start to see some progress by day 3.
There you go.
And the overall behavioral treatment doesn't usually take more than 1 month's time total to finish the whole program and have established much better sleep habits. There's also some strategies that Dr. Hanley incorporates right from the get-go to even try to make the first night easier. He has parents record the time the child actually fell asleep the night before you start the behavioral sleep treatment. And say the child didn't fall asleep till 11 p.m. The day you start, or the night you start the behavioral sleep treatment, you put them to bed an hour later. So at midnight, say, in this hypothetical example, because you want to get maximum motivation for sleep. So Dr. Hanley has fine-tuned a lot of strategies to make it as effective as possible.
Okay, so if you want that strategy, you want the video that Dr. Copeland did about that strategy from start to finish, because it's kind of on the long side, it's like an hour. Write to me, s.penrod@autism-live.com, and I can get you connected with that. But it does work, and man, is it worth it. It's so very worth it. Anything else?
I should mention, for those who are actually in the study, it won't be videotaping every night, but we ship a camera. I had the ABA team bring a nighttime recording camera. We film some of the nights to get the data that we need for our study. But the ABA team would help the family with that filming.
Okay, spectacular. Thank you so much for addressing something that I know so many families have difficulties with, Dr. Copeland, and thank you. We miss you.
Shannon and autism-live for having us.
We miss you, and we need to work out some time to do this on a more regular basis, because we miss you, and our viewers ask for you all the time and say, when is the unicorn coming back? So we'll have to find time for that.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank
you
you,
take
Dr.
care.
Copeland.